Welcome to Wellness Spring, where we cut through the health confusion with insights from the world's leading experts. Get ready to meet the real Hughsey. In this thrilling episode, I sit down with the one and only Dave Hughes, who gives us the inside scoop on his comedy journey, his parenting hacks, and what really went down when his son's tantrum went viral on TikTok. He had over 3 million views. Hughsey also opens up about staying present and finding peace right where he is. And trust me, he's got a few surprises in store about his lifestyle that you won't see coming. Curious? Tune in to discover the real side of Hughsey that you've never seen before. Welcome, Hughsey, to Wellness Spring. It's so lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you, Beverley. It's a pleasure and an honour to be here.
Oh, thank you. And congratulations again on an amazing sellout show on Saturday night. It was such a hit and you were definitely on fire.
Thank you. Yes, so I hadn't been to Bendigo for a while, so I did really enjoy that show. I'm really enjoying stand-up comedy. I've always enjoyed stand-up comedy, always, for the last 30 years, really. But yeah, I'm enjoying it as much, if not more than ever, which is great.
Can you tell our listeners what it was like growing up in Warrnambool?
Yeah, Warrnambool. We normally don't use the AM of the word, like the letters. So it's just you go Warrnambool. So you just go Warrnambool. If you phonetically sound it out, it sounds like Warrnambool. But yeah, it's like Melbourne rather than Melbourne. But yeah, look, I grew up in it's a town of 30,000 people on the southwest coast of Victoria. Beautiful coastline. It's cold and wet and windy in winter. It was a humble upbringing. We lived in a sort of commission house, so government sort of housing almost. But it was fun. I was a bit of a stressed out kid though, because I don't know. I was an overthinker, and it was always I had an ego when I was very young as to always wanting to be the hero. So, yeah, there was a lot of tears when, I wasn't selected in a football team or, couldn't find a girlfriend and stuff. So, yeah, there was a lot of tears in my early years being depressed about my state. Bit of woe is me going on with me. So, but over time, I turned that into comedy, which is good.
Yeah, and who or what inspired you to do stand-up comedy?
I always love to laugh, and so I always love comedy movies and sort of comedy on TV and stuff. So, but I think what's got me thinking about doing stand-up comedy was I remember I might have been 13 or 14 maybe, and I went down to the local video shop when they used to have video stores before the change of technology, and there was a stand-up comedy video on the shelf. It was hosted by Rodney Dangerfield, who's a legendary American comedian, and had about probably 7 or 8 comedians on a show, I think from the Comedy Store in LA maybe, and they were all doing like maybe 7 minutes each, and I really laughed at all the different stand-up comedians just do it. Something I'd never really seen before, but yeah, one guy in particular who was the headline act of this this special was a guy called Sam Kinison, who's he died young. I think he had a car crash on the way home from a gig or something. But he was ranting about his life and his ex-wife sort of doing him wrong, and it was so funny. But it was someone who was, I could see that it was someone who was using their own life to get laughs, and using what had gone wrong in their life to get laughs. And I think I resonated with that. So that was probably the moment where I thought, yeah, I want to do that. So yeah, yeah, I'd say that's the moment that inspired me to become a stand-up comedian.
Great. And I was going to ask you as well, which comedian has influenced you over the years? And have any comedians given you any good advice?
Yeah, well, that was the comedian who influenced me. I think I get influenced every time I see a stand-up comedian because you just, you never want to steal people's jokes or steal their ideas, but watching other people can trigger ideas for yourself where you go, oh yeah, and then yeah, your brain starts to work on things you could do, in comedy, sort of that this other person's doing. So yeah, look, every time I've seen a comedian, I've been inspired, I would say, for different reasons. So yeah, so I applaud anyone who gets up on stage and attempts to make people laugh. So
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to stand up on stage, and people don't realize all the stress and the preparation and so forth that goes behind it. And
oh,
I know,
that's, I think people do. I think most people, I believe, just would never do it because they couldn't deal with the stress of it. So I think people do actually recognize and applaud. Most people, I would say, applaud, someone for doing it, basically. So, but when I say it's courage, it's all inside your own head. So, I mean, the first stand-up comedy gig I ever did, in a stand-up comedy room, I had 5 minutes. I'd never done it before, and like I melted. I did not get a laugh, and I felt terrible. I was humiliated. I walked off stage and just wanted to die, basically, and I had to walk through the crowd to get out of the venue because there was no backstage, basically, and that was shocking. But you know what, I sort of that night, I was probably, I think I just turned 22 at that time. I actually, even though I was feeling terrible, even that night, I thought, you know what, I haven't been physically hurt. So the only pain I'm feeling is inside my brain. It's not, no one else's cares at all. So yeah, so even in that worst gig I ever did, which was my first gig, I actually got, I realized that it actually, there's nothing to lose. So yeah.
I think you're very unique because we've seen a lot of comedians stress out and lots of artists as well. And, before they go on stage, they're very nervous. Do you get nervous before you go on stage?
I I did, especially early on, you get really nervous, and if it's a big gig, or like it's TV, or like, my first ever stand-up spot on commercial television, I was beside myself with nerves, but I handled it and I got through it. And yeah, but you still get nervous over the years, walking on stage at the Montreal Comedy Festival at in front of 3,000 sort of Canadians in a big theatre in Montreal, you get nervous, or hosting the Logies or opening the Logies, walking out on stage, and it's live in front of everyone in Australia, and you've got all your peers in the room, so you get nervous of that stuff. But you know what, the more I do it, actually, I'm getting less and less nervous, to be honest. So I'm in a good headspace right now where I'm really living in the moment. So if you live in the moment, there's no need to be nervous, because it's nothing matters. You just stay. If you stay present, there's no nerves sort of dissolve, because you're not thinking about the future, because it doesn't exist, and the past doesn't exist either. So there's really nothing to be nervous about.
That's wonderful. You're definitely speaking my language, because most people are striving to be present in the moment.
But it's a lifelong practice, and once you realize that is the ultimate, that is really, it becomes so. It becomes just a way of life, and so you can, and you're never going to be perfect, but if you devote yourself to that practice of staying present, you'll get better over time, and you can practice every moment. We can practice, right, we're practicing hopefully right now. Yeah, practice it all the time. Like, if you're driving, turn the radio off, just drive. You know what, and driving is a great time to practice mindfulness, actually, because at any point, danger could come at you, if you're present in the moment, you're more likely to avoid that danger. So practicing mindfulness while driving is a really good thing to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what tools you use to be present in the moment.
Just silence is the best bit. So I think just any time you can shut off your phone or shut off, any noise and just be there right now. So if you walk outside in the morning, just hear the birds, feel the wind, sort of rushing over your skin. Just stay in the moment. If you can get your shoes off, just plant your feet in the dirt, or if you're near a beach, just walk in the sand. Or what I've been doing recently is I live in Melbourne, close to the bay, and it's cold, and during winter especially, and I've just jumping in the cold water every day, like for 5 minutes. That really keeps you present. So anything you can do that can make you uncomfortable can keep you present as well. So
yeah, that's great, because I teach meditation and breath work.
yeah, great.
And because most people, their monkey mind
Yeah,
doesn't stop. And
yeah.
obviously your ego is putting you down and you're crap, you'll never do this, you'll never do
Or
that.
you're great.
So
Either ways, even saying you're crap is bad, but saying you're great is, I think, it's dangerous as well. Just be quiet. You don't need to, I'd really get beyond yourself. I read somewhere recently that the people who think about themselves the least are the happiest people. So stop thinking about yourself. It's we're all just dust. We're here for a second and we're gone. In the relative, relative time of the universe, we're here for just a moment. And and I say to my kids all the time, just get over yourself, just be now, forget about yourself, and just realize it's a privilege and an honor and a mind-blowing experience to exist. And you don't need anything more than that. The fact you exist is the most amazing gift. And just live with that.
wow, that's wonderful words of advice. And I think, because most people with their monkey mind, they can't still it. But with you, I'm sure jumping in the sea, freezing cold, that's a great way of just being present and keeping warm and swimming and
Yeah,
so forth.
I think what I like to do, and what anyone can do, is just step back from your mind. Just watch your thoughts. Just watch them. So if you just in your mind go, all right, and just see what you're thinking, and just watch it and realize it is like a sausage factory of bullshit thoughts just going bang, bang, bang. And if you can step back from them and realize you can get beyond them. And if you stay beyond them, as much as possible, I think they will quieten down. And but it doesn't matter. Just watch them like they're like, as many people have said, it's like they're ships just passing by a river. Just watch those thoughts just go past and past, keep going past, and you realize that you're beyond that. There's something beyond those thoughts, something beyond the self.
That's wonderful. And I find, having worked with lots of artists, whether they're painters or musicians and so forth, and comedians, when you're present with your work, they say they become their work. So when you're on stage and you're telling your jokes and you're feeding off it, you're in that moment.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
One thing I say about doing stand-up comedy, which is a great, that really keeps me present, because, over all the years and all the, thousands of gigs I've done, very, very rarely have I been on stage, doing my act and been thinking about something else. Like it's that's a way to keep you present. Like if there's, 200, 400, 500, or even 50 people just staring at you, you can stay in the moment. So so that is stand-up comedy is a really good way for me to stay in the moment.
Yeah. And comedy, for me, laughter is the best medicine. However, a lot of time it's in unhealthy places like bars that are selling crap food and so forth. How do you deal with that? Because you're on the road all the time.
Look, I'm a very sort of, I mean, I may not look health conscious, but I am. I don't drink alcohol. Generally, no drugs. Although, I mean, I have been doing jokes about marijuana gummies recently, which I'm having occasionally. So that's one thing, but that can be. But yeah, I'm also a vegan, so I'm really, in a way, committed to a dietary lifestyle, which is, I think, healthier. So, although I do eat too many hot chips, there's no doubt about that. But yeah, so I've over the years turned myself into someone who some other people would say, "Fuck, where do you have your fun?" But I think you don't need. Being alive is fun. That's all I need, and I think being a vegan is going to hopefully, touch wood, make me live a longer and healthier life. So yeah, I am cool with that.
That's wonderful news because I've been vegan for about 30 years
Yeah, right.
and I rarely drink alcohol and don't do drugs. And I think just being in the present moment and being in nature, is just wonderful. I tell people I'm high on life. So
Yeah, good. I mean, and that's you're in that way you're in control of your own destiny, and you're not you haven't given that power over to an external source. So yeah, when you decide not to drink alcohol, and I decided very young to not drink alcohol. I was 21 when I stopped drinking alcohol. So, and I was a bad drinker. I was always getting way too drunk or getting way out of control. When I decided to stop doing that, yeah, my life improved immediately, basically. So yeah, so when you realize that you are in complete control of your mood, and that's and you create your own bad moods by how you process you know external situations, and it's your decision to process them the way you want to process them, and that it gives you the power back. No matter what has happened in your life or what people have done or said to you, they can't affect you. You are the one solely in control of how you process life.
I totally agree with you, and everything is down to choice, and we can choose to be happy and we can choose to be in control of our thoughts. And, what we focus on creates our reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I've been far from perfect over my life. There's no doubt about that. So I've spent way too many moments feeling sorry for myself. So even someone like me, who was, from all intents and purposes, had a very successful life, especially since I stopped drinking and stuff. So, but yeah, even me, and and I'm financially independent, and that's all good. But I've still spent so much time focusing on what I don't have rather than what I have, and so which I think all comes back to the ego, and and I think the ego is the issue. And for me, the more I give away the ego, and sometimes that's happened when things don't go your way, like a radio show gets cancelled or a TV show gets cancelled or ticket sales aren't as good as you'd hope for or something, which is easy to, for me at least, to wallow in self-pity. But then I think some of those things happening has actually made me grow as a person, because I realized that I had some sort of image of myself that I wanted to protect, and so I would do things to protect that image, thinking that mattered. And when external forces meant that image got basically tarnished, I've been able to look at myself and realize that I was living an illusion anyway. And so it's actually sometimes your failures are your best friends, basically, because they make you realize that your life was fucking bullshit, basically.
That's great. Yeah, I've done loads of brain entrainment courses over the years, and I help people to be aware of their disempowering beliefs, because basically by the time we're 5, we've made lies about ourselves. So, for example, if our parents argue, we blame ourselves because we see our parents as perfect.
Yeah.
So if you know, even if they were abusers, you know, father or mother beating us up or drinking loads of alcohol, loads of crap going on, we still see them as perfect. So if they are perfect, who are we? We can't be perfect, because you've talked about being perfect, but then we make up lies that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not capable, I don't have the capacity, and so forth. So most people spend their lives trapped in that BS, trying to prove themselves wrong. But you have been able to work that out for yourself and step aside from your ego and step into your true authentic self. So I believe we're a spiritual being having a temporary journey in a human body. So it's like this, some people call it God force or life force. It's this invisible stuff. When we go in the zone and we're in the moment, we're connected to all that is. So it's most people want to be in the moment, that you are practicing very well. And when you're on stage, you're in that moment. But the majority of the people are trapped with their negative beliefs.
Yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely hear you, and I agree. And you know what I realized, even with myself and all that sort of wanting to be perfect, and you know, but it's a cycle of self pity, which is pathetic. Like, it's me feeling sorry for myself, you know, which is, you know, I say it to my son. I've said that to my son after, you know, driving home from basketball games where he's crying. And I said, mate, you're feeling sorry for yourself. And he goes, I'm not. I said, yes, you are. He goes, I'm not. I'm just wishing, I just, you know, wanted things to go better. I said, yeah, and that's feeling sorry for yourself. You're coming at it from the wrong attitude, you know. So he was, you know, so you're on basketball court, and you're just, your brain is just looking for the negative, and you're just not enjoying the moment. So, and you know, I've had many Friday nights driving home with him, you know, crying in the car because he didn't get enough minutes on court, or he missed a shot, or whatever reason. But I think we've turned it around, and he's got to the point now where he's enjoying his basketball, where he's not in that mindset of, you know, he had a grand final a few weeks ago where he, you know, he had he had the chance to win the grand final for his team. It was he had 2 free throws. He hits them both. They win the grand final. You know, it was right at the end of the game. And he looked around, and there's, like, you know, decent crowd. It's under 16s, but it's a grand final, so there's probably a couple of hundred people watching, making the opposition are trying to put him off. And he turned around and just laughed. And I just thought he's going to be okay, because he laughed in that moment. And then he hit both free throws, and they won the game. And it was a mindset thing of getting, and I actually felt proud that he'd listened to me after all those, you know, teary drives home, and realized that he doesn't have to have that attitude. He can have the attitude that it's fun, and it's, you know, he can laugh at the situation rather than cry at it. So yeah, that was really nice for me, that to see him develop and grow as a human, and hopefully I've helped him with all my banging on about, you know, what we're talking about now.
Wow, that's amazing. It's
Yeah,
so
lovely.
Lovely to hear that. Congratulations.
But you know, the win was the laughing before the shots. That was already the win. That was an attitude. That was a life attitude that he'd already had. So it didn't really matter where he hit the shots or not, because he had that attitude of the laughing at it. And that's where you want to laugh at life. Life is ridiculous. As you say, we're here for a moment. And, you know, we take it all so seriously. And then, you know, you walk through a cemetery and look at you. I was walking through a cemetery recently, just in Sydney. There's a cemetery right on the beach in Clovelly, sort of, you know, it's got the best view of the bloody harbour or whatever. And I just looked at all those tombstones thinking, all those people worried about stuff, where did that get them? You know, so I was like, what's the point of the worry? We're all going to die. Fuck, stop worrying.
Exactly. And yeah, when we stay in Sydney, because we're traveling around Australia in a camper van at the moment, because we came here because of the COVID lockdown and to see Brian's elderly parents. And then we've ended up staying. We thought during the 16-week lockdown in Sydney, we'll buy a van and just travel for a bit and then go back. Anyway, we stayed, he's 88 now, but he was 84 when we got there. Is a really close friend, and he grew up in an orphanage, and now he's like a self-made millionaire. But he teaches you to be present in the moment. He's like, look at the wren, look at this, look at that. And one friend rang him up who'd sliced off his finger, and he just said, oh, don't worry, you got 3 more on that hand, you know. And he's got a contagious laugh,
Yeah,
and he brings you back to that moment, and he gets people to see that exactly what you're saying, that life, don't take it so seriously,
yeah,
and it doesn't matter, you know. And he dresses like a pauper, but he's like, these t-shirts I've had from sailing, they're such good value, you know, the quality and is long lasting. He doesn't care what people think about him or what he
yeah.
looks like, you know.
Oh,
And I
that's so
think,
liberating when you truly realize that people are not thinking about you, and who cares if they are. When you truly realize that is it's almost the ultimate freedom, really is. I used to like, I was doing a TV show, and it was rating not great, and it would annoy me that not enough people were watching. And I'd go to pick up my kids from school or drop them off at school, and no one would talk about my TV show, and I would be annoyed about it. Like they've got a celebrity in their midst. What's wrong with these people? Are they all jealous or something? It was a crazy way to think. To think that at any point I'm the center of someone else's universe was just madness. It's like, I'm so embarrassed now by my thinking, honestly. But yeah, so once I really truly, I think I've liberated myself from that bullshit, of thinking that other people are thinking about me. And obviously sometimes they are, but it's just, everything is so momentary. To spend a second worrying about other people's thoughts of you is ridiculous.
yeah, that so many people do. And thank you for your honesty and vulnerability for admitting it. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of
well, it's funny.
people, yeah, it is funny. And you mentioned TV, and I know you work on the radio as well and live comedy. So, which medium do you enjoy most and why?
Oh, look, the stand-up comedy is the best. It's what I started out in comedy, and it's just that it's a simplicity of it, I think, of just the microphone, or not even a microphone sometimes, depending on where you are. But yeah, just that, hopefully getting the full attention of the room rather than, sort of momentary attention, less momentary attention that you'll get from being on radio or TV is, yeah, a joy. And yeah, I love stand-up comedy so much. And yeah, I mean, it's just where I think I can be my true self in comedy, at least. So, and yeah, that's where I maximize my comedy abilities. So yeah, stand-up comedy is definitely my number one. I would do stand-up comedy. Well, I reckon if I could do 6 nights a week, or maybe 5 or 6 nights a week for the rest of my life till the day I die. And if someone said you can do that, then you can't do any other form of comedy work, but I'll give you 1,000 people a night for 6 nights for the rest of your life, I'd take that deal. I'd just do that. I'd be so happy. Or 500 people, or 300 people, 200 people a night. I'd take
that. Well, that's wonderful news, because I think why I like watching you is because you are very much a people person and everyday people person, and you relate to them and you read the room very well. And it's lovely to see you bouncing off people's reactions. And
Yeah,
I guess that comes with experience.
it does. Yeah, I've done it a lot, but yeah, it comes with attitude as well. So when you got the right attitude, the room works for you. But obviously not everyone's going to think you're great, or And I tell you, I've said many times, but when I know I can't be beaten on stage is when I look into the audience and I see someone who's not laughing, who's clearly bored or clearly doesn't want to be there. When I look at them, and when that makes me laugh, I know I can't be beaten. So when I'm looking at it's like looking at abject failure of someone, of not connecting with someone, and that makes me laugh. Well, then, yeah, that I know I'm in a good gig.
Oh, great. It was funny on Saturday because the lady next to me, she was like, I'm going like this and shaking her head a few times.
Yeah, yeah.
I know two of my sisters would be like that as well because they're quite prim and proper. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on going past the boundaries?
Oh, look, I think you'll know where, it's, look, I've been doing it a long time. So I think I've got a good sense of what's fair and what isn't fair. So yeah, I'm pretty confident and secure in what I talk about and how I talk about and whether it's okay or not. So yeah, I mean, obviously always someone's going to say, that's too much. Well, for example, I did a thing on Instagram the other day, which I know we talked about off air, which is my son's, trying to clean had rice on the bottom of his lunchbox. So I watched him put it in his bag with the rice on it. And I told him, you've got rice stuck to the bottom of your lunchbox. Can you get that off before you put it in your lunch bag? And then he scraped the bottom of the lunchbox on the kitchen bench, which was the rice just went on the floor. And I'm like, mate, you've just put that on the floor. What the fuck are you doing? And then he goes, and then he picked some of the rice up and put it in his pocket of his school pants. And I'm like, what's wrong? What is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, I told that story on a video and just put it on my Instagram and my TikTok, and it went viral. It's gone to I've got 3 million views on it, which is the first time any of my stories on Instagram or TikTok have gone viral. So I've always wanted to be able to get somebody to get over 1 million views, and this one, a 40-second video has just popped and it's just connected, and yeah, it's got as I said, over 3 million views, and that's in a couple of days, which is great, and I'm very happy about it. But you obviously got people who are going to be negative about it. People are going, what? Well, you can't, you can't swear at your son. Well, you can, and I have, and also people going, you shouldn't have shared that story. That's that's embarrassing for him. But I actually asked my son. I said, are you okay if I put this on Instagram, on TikTok? And he goes, yeah, sure, do it. So I'd already asked him. So, and he's like, he sees it. I told him about 3 million views, and he thinks now he's, reinvigorated my career. So according to him, he's the reason I'm successful now. So, which his story is the reason I've got my biggest hit on those social media platforms. So, but there's still always going to be people who are going to tell you that you've done the wrong thing. But no matter what you do, someone's going to disagree with it. So, it is what it is. So
Yeah, and it's like what you said earlier, don't care. And just to wrap up, I always ask my guests, if there was one thing you could do to change the world, what would it be?
I would get everyone to stop eating animals. That's what I'd do. I'd go, if ever the world stopped eating animals, we're going to be the planet is going to be better, and people, there's going to be less cancer in the world. The animals get their revenge. They kill us, basically. We eat them, and then they kill us from the inside. So it's like, I think there's quite a bit of research now that the plant-based life leads to longevity. So I don't know, if you want to live longer and live healthier, I'd say go plant-based. And so, yeah, I actually talked to the leader of the Greens here in Australia, so with the environmental party, the Greens, because someone had told me that he wasn't a vegan. And I talked to him, I had him on a radio show, and I said, are you a vegan? He goes, no. I said, well, what are you doing leading the Greens? You mean, if you care about the environment, you shouldn't be eating meat, because it's the meat production is a reasonable part, maybe 15 to 20% of the emissions are through meat production. So if you care about the environment, as he purports to, or whatever the word is, he says he does, he's a hypocrite, because he's not doing. Every time I drive past a climate change protest, I want to scream out the window, are you all vegan? And if they say no, I want to go, well, fucking go home, because you're a hypocrite. So that's what I would do. And my children eat meat. I'm not a militant about it, so but I don't think they should, but they do. But anyway, so that's what I would do. I would say everyone stop eating meat, and the planet's going to be a lot healthier.
That's great. You surprised me, because I thought you'd say get everybody laughing, come into comedy shows or something.
You know what?
That's
That is,
brilliant.
all right, that's number 2. All right. So no, yeah, you know, right. Actually, just go to comedy. Go see Dave Hughes. All right. So,
Exactly.
I won't lecture about being a vegan. I don't lecture, as you know. I don't lecture during my shows. So because there's very few. We're being a vegan's are very much a minority. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and yeah, because you mentioned diseases, chronic diseases, and so forth, and people getting sick with meat. But I think people are getting, it's a known fact now, people are getting sick. It's the highest rate of chronic diseases ever, and they're putting it down to the chemicals on the land.
Yeah, well, I think it's our diets are obviously a big part of it. So, whether that's overproduction and poor, just you imagine probably large companies want to maximize profits and couldn't care less what they feed the world.
Exactly, they're lining their pockets instead of caring about health. So on that note, thank you so much. I'll put all your social media links with the show notes. And is there anything you want to share with anyone before we leave?
No, I just, it looks, a true friend is someone who, when something goes wrong in your life, you can ring them and they will laugh with you. So that's why I'm like,
that's wonderful.
Laugh at your problems and laugh with other people at their problems, with them, not at them, with them. So, so let's all just, we're all heading to the grave. Let's enjoy ourselves on the way.
Thank you. It's just been amazing chat, and thank you for your words of wisdom.
Thank you, Beverley.